Alrighty, can you believe it? Week 5 in CIT82, Introduction to Web Development. So, 4 weeks, really, 4 weeks left after we get into next week. And again, remember when I record these, right? So we're at the end of week 4, heading into week 5. And so I graded just a little while ago, and it was fun to see, as I think it was fun for you all to create some um, example based on what you've learned about CSS. And I know that those kinds of exercises are always more fun and, you know, can be a little bit of a struggle depending on how well you grasped the concepts that were covered. Seems like most of you got most of it, so good on you that you did. So we're this week, right? So we just finished. Here's week 4. So, by the way, one of the things I do is I roll the week up once it's done. So at noon today, right, I go into attendance and I make it to where you can't reply, but you can totally watch the attendance. That's just the way I handle things. And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. As long as your work is there on the morning after it's due, when I grade, because I grade every day, but I really focus on making sure I grade and complete everything the day after an item is due. But I think I've talked about that here. Okay, so I'm going to roll up week 4, right? There was nothing in there specific I felt like I needed to cover, but I'm looking at week 5, which is heading at us. And I'm looking at week 6 because week 6 I need to either use content that I've had before, and I'm actually leaning toward recording new because it's becoming a little bit dated. And so here's what kind of launched me into my discussion today is that even this course, and I've said this before, I think this particular course that you're doing now in week 5 is a little bit dated as well. And how do you know things are dated on the web? Well, it moves very quickly. So some might say 2 years is not, but in this industry, it very well can be. So one of the things we look at, and you're going to get this understanding versioning, is how often a version changes. So we are going to learn through the Bootstrap crash course this week. Again, we're coding along. I give you commit points I want you to do. And what you're going to be learning is Bootstrap 4. And so Bootstrap 5, which is just kind of dropped recently, and I was doing some research today about this, right? So the alpha, and this is like when they are getting ready to release a version, they'll send it out for people to play with and get a feel for. So 5 is dropping like soon. Again, we're going to, right? So we're working hard for the several refined work. We started in version 4, so which is the version we're going to look at for the crash course. But here is the big deal. And this is something that if you're new to web in general, this won't maybe land as critically as it really is. The one complaint many people had with Bootstrap over the years was that it was heavy. It was too heavy. There were 2 big complaints. It was too heavy. It used this thing called jQuery. So back in the day, instead of you learning JavaScript, because JavaScript had so many limitations, there was a library created called jQuery. And what it did is it made those things you want to do in JavaScript just easier. And so many people would never learn JavaScript. They only learned jQuery. And so many sites, so many frameworks, so many use jQuery for so many years. But now we're starting to see the decline of jQuery, much to the internet's glee, because it's heavy. It's heavy. That's the big deal. Is it adds a lot of weight to your page. And when we say weight, right? Imagine if you're clicking into a site and how long are you willing to wait, right? Most people are not willing to wait very long. We are impatient. And then we're looking at it on small screens, and then we're really not patient. So the ability to load quickly is something optimizing for the web, optimizing for mobile. We actually talk about mobile first. So we create sites generally thinking about mobile first. So I just want you to know that, and once we get to after week 6, and again, I'm kind of looking forward here because once you get through learning about Bootstrap, then you're actually going to choose a template. And this is really the topic I'm going to jump off on because this all got me thinking about that content for week 6 and how I'm probably going to have to redo it because there's been another shift that has very much happened, and I'm not totally sure how I'm going to handle it. So I thought I'd use it as a way to describe something to you. So one of the things, if you and this is what, again, I'm previewing a little bit, but if I said Bootstrap 4 templates free, this is the idea that you're not going to have to create your Project Zero site from scratch. You're going to use a template that somebody built in Bootstrap. Okay. Now, in this case, there are many different ones, but I'm going to show you the one I was looking at this morning as kind of an example. So this is a pretty good site. There's actually, as a matter of fact, let me just for a moment come back here to the Bootstrap site because there are, and these are themes which are a little different. Themes are a little different, but similar, right, to a template. So what you want to start doing is thinking about this. And here's why I'm bringing this up today. So let me go back here because I was looking mostly at this site because this right here, this freelancer. So I want you to find one that's free. So like if you were looking at this site, you look for the ones that have the green button and you would think they would all be free given my search term, but it's not true. Okay. So if I was to come down here and let's say I liked this creative, I want to, and it shows you, well, this is kind of cool. View on GitHub, view live, or you can download it. Okay. Now this is something I'll cover in week 6, but here's why I'm talking about it. If I view live, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to drop the frame for a reason that you're going to see in a minute. Up here in the URL, right, this is what's rendering. It's like your URLs that we have for GitHub pages, right? So this would be your navigation, something you built, you will build actually you built in the CSS part. And so in this case, and I think you build it again in Bootstrap. Sorry if I'm got that wrong, but this navigation is really when we look at Project Zero, which you're going to review the requirements for this week, this becomes your organization of your main topics. So I want you to watch what happens up here when I go to one of the topics. Now, first thing we notice, besides it just nicely glides down, there's a little nice animation. If I do this, it glides back up. Well, this is what we call a SPA, a single page application. Now, it's actually not a full app, but this is one page that has all this content on it. And and notice how if I scroll that the navigation, now this is, not all templates are going to be the same, but watch what it does as I scroll through here. So for a site that only has 4 different topics, right, this works fine. But for what you're going to need for Project Zero, this creates a little more of a challenge. And let me explain this. And I'll show you another one that is a little more suited to what we're doing. So let's assume we're going into our topic called services, and then you're going to have probably 4 pages, 4 to 5 pages here, right? So it's not like you're going to click into the lower. You actually need to have an external page that links to here. Now, by the way, you can totally do it, right? You just have to know how to modify the template or use the template with external pages. Because again, if you look at this template, which you're going to start doing next week, you're going to see it only has one index file. Now, again, this is a very common thing we're seeing on the web for single page applications because many sites don't have a need for a lot of content, and this works. Okay, so so I want you to know SPA is a single page. Yeah, so let me see. Let me do a SPA definition, right? Oh, yeah, not that kind of SPA, right? So let's call it a single page application definition. There we go. Okay. So this is it's a single page web page or website that interacts with the browser dynamically by rewriting the current web page with new data from the server. Now, that's the application part for us. We're only looking at the presentation side, so it's really only one page. So it can be used. You'll have to work on doing sub pages, but let me show you one that might be a little better suited to what we're doing, because I actually looked at a couple today. And more than anything, I just want you to get the idea of a difference between, this is actually one I've done in the past, again, free. If I come down to blog, and again, I'm going to do a live preview, and I'm going to drop the frame. So now we have a navigation, but look at the difference when we click. So what happens here is it loads a page. Okay. Now it keeps your navigation what you want. You want your navigation on each page. So this is not a single page. These are multiple pages, and that's what you're going to end up needing for your project zero. So two things I'm trying to do here is first explain the difference between a single page site. I don't even want to call it an app, because on an app, then you're doing some back-end stuff, or a multiple page site, because when you start looking at template, this becomes important. And the reason this is going to hit us is that many of the templates that are offered are actually single pages versus multiple pages. Now, you can easily convert them. It's not an issue. It's just that it takes a little more work just to do some of the initial setup. And it's just good for you to know. And really, it kind of is also a trend in web development that we see a lot, where people are using these single page applications to create more app-like web pages. And that's part of why they got popular, right, as well. So let's stop right here and ask the question. And this is what I want you to reply to is, do you understand what I'm trying to help you grasp the difference between a multiple page site and a single page site, and which is more set up or conducive to our project? And the answer is a multiple page site, because you are going to need to create separate pages for your project zero. Now let me talk about, could you, and let's come back to one that I just pull. Yeah, let me go back to this one. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't use these, and here's another version. Here's another single page one. Let me do a live preview, drop the frame. If I go down, and you'll start to see it. When you start to look at templates, now you start to see it, because it still has a navigation. But when you click that navigation, first clue is that your URL doesn't change. So you know you're on the same page. Okay. Now, how could you make this work? Right? So instead of it going to, and this is a way you write HTML, and you can see this, and part of what you're going to be doing in week 6 is actually picking a template and then analyzing it. We're going to spend a whole week in week 6 for you to analyze a template, okay? Which you can totally make this, instead of going down into the same page, right? And that's a way you write an anchor tag. You can actually just send it to another page. So I just want you to understand the concept, get it in your head, know that what we're doing, because you just finished doing your CSS, is that what you're going to be doing for project zero is creating a site based on the topic that you're going to choose or content of this class, or, profile sites, what we call vanity sites, are really good to do. So you're going to start thinking about what's going to be the topic of your Project Zero. All right. So did you understand it? Do you have any questions for me? Know that we are covering Project Zero overview in week 6. No, in week 5 that we're coming into. Let me go back there and look at it just to make sure, right? So here we are. And so at the end of this week, you're going to be actually reviewing and asking questions here. So really what I'm just describing is a couple things: trends in the industry, the difference between a single page and a multiple page site, Bootstrap 5. And by the way, you might be asking, can I use Bootstrap 5? You totally could. You just have to find a template. And when it comes to templates, they're all over the gambit. They're from very simple to much. And part of this is you're going to have a vision of the site that you want to create, and you have to figure out, right? Analyzing, looking a little bit at that code before you choose it is a good idea, because you have enough knowledge on board to at least see if you can understand its basic functionality. Like this morning, and I'll leave you with this. Did I do this? Yeah, I did this morning. Is I actually downloaded one just because I wanted to look at it. So like right here, I downloaded a Bootstrap resume site, and I thought, oh, they have a dist, and this is where the end, and I can see if I double click. So this is the index page, so I can clearly see by looking at just the. There we go. It does it. Oh, Max, dude, they used to not do this where you could increase. Oh, I love that. Okay, I love that now. So in this case, I can see that there's only one index file. So I know it's a single page. And then what I could do is take this and break it in and create different pages. Instead of it going to this one page, I could create multiple pages for the needs that you have for this class. Okay, I think I've done enough, hopefully. So your job is to reply to any of that. But the thing I really want to see is, do you understand what I'm trying to help you conceptually get as far as kind of where the industry's at, what you're going to see when we start into choosing templates in week 6, having this in the context of your brain as we move into the Bootstrap part of this class, and the fact that we only have 4 weeks left. All right. Peace out. Have a great week. See you later.